Hello, and welcome to the live stream straight off the bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals across multiple industries that help you understand financial literacy and education. If you're joining us on Facebook today, don't forget to like and follow our page to stay updated with content that will help you manage your money. I'm your host, Pauline Joseph, and today we're answering the question, what is a digital wallet? Our guest today is Christina Olivia Abreu. She's the Director of Global Transaction Banking in South and East Caribbean at Scotiabank, Trinidad Tobago. She specializes in online platforms, merchant services, including e-commerce and unmanned solutions. She also loves animals, especially dogs, and she's the owner of 5 cane Corsos. Let's bring Christina in and find out what is a cane Corso because I am not sure.
So Cane Corso is better known, aka as an Italian Mastiff.
Oh,
So they
wow.
are a very large breed, weighing in anywhere between 120 to 140 pounds. So yes, I'm the proud owner of five of them.
Wow. So I would assume buying their food online will be so convenient. You see what
I
I did
would,
there?
yes, I did. I would say though that bath time is more challenging, but yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's get straight into it because we have 60 minutes, but that is not enough to cover this e commerce space that we're all trying to figure out. So let's start with a simple question, and hopefully you will expand on it for us to understand what exactly is a digital wallet.
Sure. Okay, so a digital wallet, simply put, is a secure method of putting your or storing your banking information on your device, okay, your phone. And in the more elaborate digital wallets through AI, they have varying components, components that would help you budget, components that track your spending. So you're finding that internationally, we are still in the very early stages of digital wallets, but you're finding that internationally, especially you will see Europeans visiting us, digital wallets is a big part of how they do business today. Just imagine you're going to a party locally. What's the one thing that you're always going to take with you? Your phone. So if that phone could be everything, your communication, your connectivity, plus your payment device, that's where you want to be.
That's so great. And Christina doesn't know this, what I'm about to tell her. I didn't prep her. But she knows I'm a Scotiabank customer. But I actually added my Scotiabank credit card to my Garmin watch. It's the
Ah,
only option in Trinidad I've ever experienced. I was shocked. So I appreciate you guys for that. So when it comes to I mean, you've been in the business for decades. I mean, you would have started really young, obviously. So when it comes to significant emerging trends that you're seeing in Trinidad and Tobago, could you give us some insight because you've been in the business, you've seen what's happening. So what, especially with that unnamed incident that happened and we all were on lockdown, what are you seeing on your side?
yeah. So up until 2000, I would say we had a very steady road to electronic services, digital payments. It was coming along very steadily, but I think we were all very comfortable in how we did our day-to-day business. And when 2000 came, we got thrown into this pandemic. And we suddenly, from the Scotiabank's perspective, we had customers calling in and saying, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? We are locked down. How does my business continue? How do I continue to live? Help me. So we had to, you know, kind of not just educate, but partner with our customers in this very awkward, what do we do time. So you found customers went to delivery methods when they never had it before. So they then needed wireless terminals. Maybe they did curbside pickup. Then you had a lot of companies coming and saying, look, can you give me a payment page? Can you give me a payment link? I want to just get my payments and then just deliver to my clients. And even from the consumer, we saw where consumers were, very cautious about cash. here I am being told to wear a mask, sanitize, everything. You saw people wiping down everything, and they didn't want to touch cash. And what we saw is between 2000 to 2022, we saw a 250% uptick in customers wanting to be in that e-commerce space. And then from 2022 to 2025, another 225%. Now, there's a staggering in those customers in those 5 years, a 4,500% increase in online transactions locally. So what that says to me is that there has been speedy buy-in. Whether we were forced into it or whether we were doing it before and we were glad that people expanded, we are more and more becoming very comfortable with the idea of shopping online and using other methods. As you mentioned when you introduced me, things like unmanned solutions. Today you go to the airport, you use the kiosk to check out from the parking lot. You will go, let's say, to a provider like Flo, Columbus. You can pay your bills online via a kiosk. And then for businesses, that allows them to let their staff be more interactive with their customers. When their customers come in, there's someone to greet them, ask them how they can be assisted, and not spent doing those kind of tedious jobs of just, accepting payments over and over.
So you mentioned this terminology called unmanned solutions, and for us layman people, because that's who I represent here, guys, you know this. Would you say an ATM is an unmanned solution? Because as a business owner, we have this tendency to want to control every aspect of the business, obviously, because you want it to succeed. But the idea of a machine doing a job that a human should be doing, expand on that, especially when it comes to money.
Yeah. So definitely, I would say an ATM is an unmanned solution because you're depositing, you're paying bills, you're maybe taking out cash. An ATM is definitely, if you want to put it into a concept, it is a unmanned solution. So anywhere you go where there is not a human, that is an unmanned solution. The beauty of it is that most unmanned solutions, should I say not visible to you, is an integration in what we call the back office. So for the company that has that technology, they have their records being updated all the way from when you do that transaction all the way to the back end, what we call bots or computers. So no more manual, interaction in terms of we got a payment, let's say from Pauline, and now we have to update Pauline's account that she paid in. No, that is all seamless. And with, of course, AI coming in, that adds even more flavor to it. So the beauty of unmanned solutions is that convenience. You go, you're in, you're out, and then it's all the way updating your records.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So for those who may have been just joining us, you gave us some great insight into the adoption rate of Trinidad, as you see it from Scotiabank perspective, Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago. So we've had some folks here, have some doubts on how to actually access online banking, and some of us know somebody with money under the mattress. So when it comes to the challenges, because even with those, numbers of over 200% adoption and eventually 4,500%, you said 4,500, right?
Yes,
Which is
4,500.
amazing.
Yes.
There are a lot of folks who still trying to figure out how to actually download the app, how to access it. So over the last few years, with this fantastic adoption of so many trainees, what are some of the challenges people will have or you've seen when it comes to adopting this digital space?
Well, I think one of the biggest things will be digital literacy, right? Just in terms of, as you said, if I'm not accustomed to technology, I want to get into it. Where do I go? Who's going to guide me? Maybe I don't have a younger person around me because, you know, the youth today are totally sold 100%. But that's where I sense that relationship banking comes in. And Scotia has really ring fenced that approach. We understand that there are boundaries and you know people are scared. And what I would recommend is that you contact us. If you're a consumer, contact your branch. They are people, persons who will be more than welcoming to guide you, tell you what we have to offer. And if you're an SME, even if you're a corporate, you know, contact us. We will guide you in terms of what is tailored for you. Because there's so many products out there. Every product is not a fit. And we have the expertise to let you know where you fit and what is best for you. So I understand the hesitation. What I would say is, you know, reach out and have a conversation, engage us, let us bring you that level of comfort.
All right. Thanks to Lisa for joining us from LinkedIn. She's an OG of the show, and that digital literacy conversation is so important. That's why we have shows like Straight Off the Bat, where we share insight. So it's interesting because you shared some data, so I'm going to share some. Within Trinidad and Tobago, the e-commerce is still something new, right? So when I initially started doing some research on it, I realized a lot of people were researching how to build an online shopping website versus e-commerce, right? So for those out there who are still, there are a lot of people who have adopted and that's fantastic, but a lot of us are still learning. So can you just expand a little bit on what exactly is e-commerce in the context of a business?
Okay, so e-commerce is the ability to sell goods and services online. What you find that the reason a lot of, especially SMEs, would shy away is for costs. Okay, the costs in the past have been, you know, a little bit more on the steeper end, and it has been difficult because if I'm a small business, you know, I'm budgeting myself for that. Okay, so what has happened is that Scotiabank has actually launched their own what we call Ecom Plus, and that allowed us to tailor services to different sectors. So, for example, if you are a small business and you are struggling to create a web page, you don't know where to go, you don't have the budget for a web developer, we have services. We have a payment page that you can connect to. We have something that you call a virtual terminal if you want to be a little bit more simple, where you send a payment link to your client and they can pay you via that link. And that's why I spoke earlier about getting in contact with with us and seeing what best suits you. So just to kind of cement that, e-commerce in essence is the ability to go online and pay for goods and services, whether you have a web page or not.
Which is something, consumers are doing regardless of if, small businesses in Trinidad and Tobago are adopting, because the data is showing that us Trinidadians love Amazon.com. So consumers are using online payments. And I would love to learn a little bit more about those solutions when it comes to Scotiabank in particular, playing, an important role in entrepreneurs and adopting digital payments. But we'll get to those answers right after this break. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Straight Off the Bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals from multiple industries that will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you're joining us from LinkedIn, don't forget to follow so you can see more information on how you can help manage your money. I'm your host, Pauline Joseph, and today we're answering the question, what is a digital wallet? And more specifically, we're looking at e-commerce solutions within Scotiabank. And our guests, we're joined today by Cristina Olivia Abreu, and she is the Director of Global Transaction Banking in South and East Caribbean at Scotiabank Trinidad Tobago. So we're going to bring her back in. Just before the break, we were discussing, what type of solutions for small businesses, because guys, us small business owners, we are the backbone of the country. So we want to find out exactly what some of the solutions that Scotiabank has to offer when it comes to helping entrepreneurs. So, Christina, you mentioned earlier about a specific e-commerce solution, especially when it comes to web development, is all parts of this e-commerce space. So where does one begin to actually apply for this? How do you go about getting this solution for a small business owner?
Okay, so I'll just touch base on one other thing before we go there, Pauline. So in the past, because I could tell you, Scotiabank has been in the e-commerce space for over 20 years, all right? And we did traditionally partner with third-party companies like Powertrans today, who people may know formally as FAC, people like Figaro. And it was in looking at the customer base and recognizing that we wanted a little bit more flexibility to be able to reach all our clients, that we built out our own program in Ecom Plus. So to just tap in on that as we're discussing it, Ecom Plus is a suite of products. So it will carry, for example, your traditional e-commerce. So if you have an e-commerce site that has a payment button, we can integrate with that directly. It has a payment page. If you don't have a website, we can give you that connectivity so you don't have to build out a website. We have what we call a virtual terminal, which is a payment link. So, for example, if you wanted to go a little bit more simple than that and you wanted to invoice your client, and then you can attach a payment link, which you can click on and basically design yourself. So when your customer opens that link, they're going to see your logo, your colors, everything that goes with it. And that payment link also comes with its own portal, reporting portal. So you can see payments real time. I'm sure everyone has heard it has happened before. A customer might say to you, no, I'm seeing that the payment went through, and you're not sure. So this allows you to go on one time and see. It also allows the link sort of like an expiry date. So you can say, okay, I'm going to give the link 3 days. So in 3 days, if your customer hasn't paid you, you will be notified that you have not collected those funds. So all of these products were designed in the interest of the local market. Also, all our fees are in TT dollars. So when you use foreign third parties, and who we know more affectionately as fintechs, you have to find US dollars to pay those suppliers. When you use Scotiabank directly, Ecom Plus, you pay in TT dollars.
Wow, that is so important, especially now with, the challenges that we're experiencing. So I want to go back a little bit when you were chatting about AI, right? Because it's like the elephant in the room. Everyone's talking about it. It's the headline that everyone clicks around. But a lot of people don't realize it's infused in every day. All of us using social media, AI is involved there. So can you expand a little bit on how that helps Scotiabank and how it will help businesses as they adopt digital payments?
Sure. So in our world, one of the biggest components of AI is fraud mitigation. Okay, I can tell you that on the top of Scotiabank's list each and every year is for fraud prevention. And when you're talking electronic payments, fraud couldn't be of more importance. And AI is leading that charge. Without giving away too much of what goes on in the back end, what I can tell you is that that component is going to help us really make even stronger our fraud prevention when it comes to digital payments. And that should bring a level of confidence to the user, because what we've seen is many times when we speak to people about digital payments, they say, I'm afraid to use it. Online banking, I'm afraid to use it. I don't know if it's safe. I don't, So I think that should add a layer of confidence to know, one, that the bank is putting so much attention on fraud prevention. And secondly, as we move into an AI generation, that is one of the greatest tools that we can use as well.
And I think that's such an important conversation to have because and people are, I think change in general is something people are going to resist. But when it comes to the conversation around, what we used to do, which is cash, and the solutions we have now, can you share some insight of someone who'll be like, no, 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 I like to see my cash. I want to see it. I've heard stories of people taking out money just to see it and depositing it back again. So, these are challenges just in general as a business owner, as someone in the world. These are challenges you're going to have. So, could you share some insight on how this is going to evolve for the positive?
Yeah, so I think what's going to happen as we move forward, we're going to see less and less cash in the system. We can make every effort to educate and to share and have these types of conversations, but you do have some folks that are, pretty adamant on, I like my cash, I want to hold on to my cash. The thing about it is, if you look at the evolution of payments, the entire world is going to a cashless, system. When you travel today, it doesn't matter where you go. If you're in the Caribbean, if you go further, you need a credit card. You need a credit card for a hotel. You need a credit card for a taxi. Many of these, just imagine to take a taxi. Many of them won't take cash. So I almost sense that it's going to be a similar scenario to when we went into the pandemic, that we are going to be forced to accept a lot of these digital products and services. That said, again, I will always encourage the dialogue. Anything from a client who, they're not sure, they're not feeling it, have that conversation with us. Let us, let's thrash it out, let's talk about it, and let's see how we could help you on board.
Okay. And I think we can't we'll be remiss if we're talking about the digital side of things, what is a digital wallet, e-commerce, and all these solutions without talking about the unbanked. So this is something I've seen in the newspaper a lot of times, the word, the terminology. Let's first talk about, what exactly is an unbanked person? What does that mean?
Okay, so an unbanked person is a person obviously that does not have a bank account. Okay, so probably where is their place of employment. They are traditionally paid in what we know as pay packets. So they may be paid weekly, daily, and that's it. That's the method. So they literally don't have a bank account. Okay. The thing about it is, again, I think with the unbanked, it comes down to education. The reality is, a lot of the time, and I actually made a note because I saw something online called spendception, and it's a terminology. It's a psychological terminology used, that when you have money in your wallet, your tendency is to do more impulse buying because you can see the money, it's there. Whereas, and it was making a comparison to digital wallets, when they said, well, if it's on your phone, you can't physically see it, so you do less impulse buying. um, Having payments coming in as cash, and just having that cash doesn't allow you a lot of room to plan for the future. It doesn't give you, because I have this and this is what I have. So, I would encourage, there are many places in Trinidad that are untouched, and rural communities and so forth. And we definitely have to get out there and, have those conversations, encourage people, help them with financial planning. Where do they go? I think it's important. So that's what I would add to that: education, education, education.
Such an important conversation, and I want to put you on the spot for a second because I find it interesting. I think education and inclusion is such a like, I mean, this is the whole premise of this show as well. And we have a lot of people using the technologies, right? So we have people using social media and sharing their data so easily. I'm here, look where I am, selfie. But when it comes to their money, it's a different mindset, So it's very interesting. And I'd like to hear your sort of opinion on that because you mentioned, you saw something online about the spend, and I definitely could agree. Like having money in my hand, it's like hot potato, like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I have this money, it needs to leave my hand. Versus, being able to go online and see your statements and seeing how you spend your money is a bit more structured approach. So, do you have sort of an insight? Do you think why is that sort of a hurdle where we're able to adopt social media so easily, but when it comes to our finances, not so much?
Yeah, I think it's just, habits, right? I think it just comes down to the more you do something, the more comfortable you get with it, right? Think about, and again, I might give away my age here. Um, think about when we first got cell phones, what cell phones look like. I remember my first phone must have looked like an old time radio. And then as we progressed, we went to things like BlackBerry phones, and then we came into and every time you had to use something new, you kind of shied away, and you kind of like, I'm not sure. But the more you used it, the more comfortable you became with it, and the more you realized that the tools that were given to you, how much benefit you were getting from those tools. So honestly, I mean, when you join Scotiabank, when you come on board and you become our family, you are given online access, and when you get that account, there are people to guide you through it. um, but I think sometimes people are a little shy because they're not using it enough. And it's just that hesitation. I think honestly, it's just a matter of, let's get on it, let's try to use it more and use the tools. Online, you can see everything in your account, and it will definitely help you and show you what you're spending.
Which could be a little difficult and embarrassing internally, this is from my perspective, okay? So, all right, if you're just joining us, we're here with Christina. And if you're like Ramesh, who's joining us from Facebook, thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget, if you have any questions, slide into our comments and we will answer them because Christina time is very valuable and we only have it for a short period of time. So, if you missed some of the information that Christina said earlier today, we're gonna expand a little bit because this idea of trending and what consumers are doing in Trinidad and Tobago is super important. You're not gonna get this information anywhere else. So we'll ask her a few more questions right after the break. We'll be right back.
Tired of feeling lost when it comes to your money? Want to make your money work more for you? Then tune in to Straight Off the Bat, brought to you by the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Every Monday at 8:30 p.m. on TV6, right after the news. We'll give you practical tools and strategies to help you manage your money wisely, from budgeting basics, debt management, to wealth creation. We'll cover it all. No jargon, just straight talk. Join our host, Pauline Joseph, as she speaks to experts across the industry to empower you to take control of your money. Straight Off the Bat, Mondays at 8:30 p.m. on TV6. Brought to you by the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago.
Hi, and welcome back to Straight Off the Bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals from multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you're joining us from YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow our page to stay updated with content that will help you manage your money. I'm your host, Pauline Joseph, and today we're answering the question, what is a digital wallet? And expanding on the e-commerce solutions that exist online. More specifically, Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago. Our guest today is Cristina, and we're going to bring her back in because we have some questions to ask her. So, earlier, because we have folks joining us, over time, you mentioned quite a few things around the percentages of adoption. So just give us a quick summary, if you can, again, on how the adoption has been over the last few years when it comes to online solutions.
Sure. So just to kind of summarize, from 2020, no, 2000, sorry, to 2022, we saw a 250% increase in customer base for e-commerce solutions. And from 2022 to 2025, we saw another 225% increase in customer base. But there's a staggering, in that 5-year period, 4,500% increase in online transactions. And these are local transactions. These are not Amazon purchases. These are all local business.
Right. And, if you guys missed it, she did mention a solution that includes the TT currency, which is extremely important. So, what advice would you have for small business owners watching this thinking, oh, okay, whatever, you're just telling me something? However, there's this shift in consumer behavior. What would you be your advice to that small business owner?
My advice would be, as I said before, to contact us. Let us tailor your needs, your budget, what you're looking at, how much you're looking at growing. Share with us. Share with us your 3 to 5 year plan. How much you want to grow your business, where you want to be. What I would say is that, for someone, let's say, that's being very conservative, if you're saying to yourself, look, I really want to try this, online presence, but I'm not too sure about it. I'm not sure if my customers will move with it. Try virtual terminals. And the reason why I say that, as a payment link that you can send to your clients after you've invoiced them. The reason why I'm saying that is virtual terminals is pay as you go. So if you do 10 transactions, you pay for the 10 transactions, and that's it. It's very simple, very clean. So, try a virtual terminal. It is widely used in Trinidad and Tobago, even, down to the healthcare sector has, really adopted the virtual terminals, and it works. So that would be my recommendation. If you're still a little hesitant after you've spoken to us and you wanna, you wanna take that leap, try a virtual terminal. You're gonna be very happy and satisfied.
Okay, so thanks to Sandra and Kalita joining us from Facebook. Ramesh is asking a question, which is not necessarily part of the theme, but we want to bring Ramesh into this conversation. And you're putting Christine on the spot, but that's okay. Question: is Scotiabank getting involved into cryptocurrency?
Um, Funny enough, I recently went to Toronto, and we do have a unit specializing in looking into cryptocurrency that I can share with you. As to where we are in it, unfortunately, I can't give any ETA on that. But certainly, I have personally an open door policy. My email address is on our website. If you reach out to me and you would like to get any further, knowledge, information on it, I can get that for you.
Okay, well, thank you, Christina, because that was a put on the spot situation. We appreciate that. All right, so let's shift this conversation across into security, because we were mentioning about AI, and obviously, there's there's no secrets going to be shared here, but just to give folks into insight as to what Scotiabank is doing to ensure that the customer feels secure, and they trust that their digital transactions are going to be as secure as possible. So, can you share some insight into that?
Sure. So first of all, what I would always recommend, and I always tell clients before we start to talk about fraud, we have to partner on this. Okay. When, as I said, and I will always say it, Scotia is a relationship bank. So we need to partner, and we need to understand just the simple things. So Scotiabank will never send you an SMS message asking for your banking details. Scotiabank will not call you on the phone and ask you for that over a telephone call. So don't share your passwords, don't share your cards, don't share your devices. You have to remember to keep yourself safe as well. Now, on top of that, I can tell you that, as I mentioned earlier, the bank prioritizes security and risk as they say, Pauline numero uno, every single year. Okay? And as such, we have, an entire fraud management team. That team is assisted by AI. And we have also invested in 3DS2 security. That's just a little technical term I will use. There will be some people understanding what I'm talking about. But these are layers of fraud protection. And we are committed to giving that comfort to use our systems.
And I think this is such an important conversation across just in general when it comes to how we're living now, because obviously a lot of us are living online. So there are different things that are happening, and even the massive, not bigger, but different industries like Uber, for instance. If you're taking an Uber, they now send you a notification saying, don't pay anyone who has a terminal who's taking you, because apparently that's been happening, right? So when it comes to consumers, because there's a lot of changes, it's not our fault, guys. I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of us. It's not our fault. There's a lot of changes happening. So we want to ask Christina, what should consumers look out for to avoid scams or fraudulent digital payment schemes?
Well, of course, the flavor of the month, or flavor for the last couple of months, is SMS messages saying that, from any bank, saying that your credentials have expired and you need to click on this link to put in the credentials. Okay, as I mentioned, that's a huge sign. No bank, and I think I can go clearly and say no bank here is going to send you a message of that type. Okay. Secondly, card loss. If you can't find your card, Scotiabank has now online where you can put your card on hold. Okay, you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, do I have to call? You can actually put your card on hold. So if you have misplaced your card and you think you know where it is but you're not sure, don't hesitate to put your card on hold. Okay, you have to remember that for online presence, someone doesn't need to know your code. Okay, once they have your card number, once they have the physical card in hand, they have the CVV number and they have the date of expiry, they can actually do a lot of mischief online. So things like that, working together with us, I think we can mitigate a lot of these things. And as I mentioned before, no sharing of cards, no sharing of codes. Yeah.
Yes, and no sharing of your ATM code, guys. Like, come on. No matter what they say, don't share it. And it's interesting because there are all these different elements that folks now have to manage differently. So, what is one of the number one thing that you can do when you're now coming into the space like digital payments and e-commerce? What would you advice be to be like, okay, this is a proactive way to come into this space? What would that be? What would you advise?
A proactive way of coming in. I don't know if there's any proactive way, but what I will say is that, come in, join the team, and enjoy the excitement, whether you're an issuer or an acquirer. And let me just explain the difference, because you may ask me what the difference is. So when you're talking digital payments, there are two parts to digital payments. When we use the terminology of issuing, that means that is the cards that you are issued in your hand. And when you say acquiring, it means the merchant who can accept those payments. Okay? So you need these two people, or two, sort of aligned partners to come together, because I can't I can't launch a service in issuing, right? If I can't acquire it, if I can't take it from that, you know. So what I will say is, if you're coming on board, be excited about it. You know, enjoy it. Look and see how your business is, you know, turning around. Have fun and enjoy it. Of course, as we mentioned before, always look out for, you know, any kind of thing, any kind of scams or situations that you are not comfortable in. However, enjoy the digital era.
I love that you use the word joy because I'm a geek when it comes to data. And I love to see how folks' behavior drives certain things. And I would love you to share insight on this conversation around insights and reporting with transactions, because you did mention earlier about small businesses being able to access the solutions that's, you know, tailored specifically for Trinidad and Tobago from Scotiabank. You know, what are some of those insights and what does that look like from a business perspective through digital transactions?
Sure. So we actually have two types of, if you want to call it, reporting portals. One, of course, is directly aligned with the virtual terminal that we spoke about, where you can actually see your live transactions coming in. But more broadly, we launched a product called OmniPay. And OmniPay, what it allowed us to do, because in the past, persons who had merchant services with us would get the traditional report. And this report you would get, let's say, you know, via secured email. And then you would have your accounting team or your accountant trying to reconcile these payments and tie them back to an account. So it was very tedious. What OmniPay has brought is a total full service reporting platform. So it actually sits on our online banking now. So no longer are you getting reports on one hand and your online banking on another. There's a tab for OmniPay. You will go on and the system will actually detail every single transaction for you, tied to your daily batches. It has an incredible search feature that allows you to search for whatever, whether it's Visa, MasterCard, debit, credit, date of transaction, amount. And it also gives you, of course, a host of historical information. Most importantly, again, OmniPay gives you, I would say, almost, it won't give you within a minute, but it gives you almost real-time authorization. So your customer will come in, and again, let's say I had a convenience shop. Customer says, but no, but my card, it went through, and you're not, and the cashier is saying, or the checkout is saying, I'm not sure. You can actually go on to OmniPay and see if that transaction has actually gone through without that client leaving your shop. So a lot of features have been brought into merchant services because of the ecosystem changing, and we recognize what our clients need. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And I think this is definitely going to be a shift in terms of culture because, you know, I've been to some interesting professional events where people say I make decisions off of a gut feeling. So now that has shifted, there, you know, there's no need to, you know, because that could be gas, guys. I just want you to know it could be gas. So we are going to go on a break. And when we come back, I want to ask Cristina about biometrics because within this e-commerce space and digital space, there's a lot of data and we want to understand exactly what these things mean. So we're going to ask her these questions. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Straight Off the Bat, a show that helps you understand financial literacy and education. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you're doing so, like Famia on Facebook, don't forget to subscribe to our page to continue seeing content that'll help you manage your money. Today, we're answering the question, what is a digital wallet? And we're really diving into the e-commerce solutions that exist. We're going to bring in Christina. She is joining us from Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago. We've covered a lot today. Thank you so much for the guys in the comments. We will try to get that to them as soon as possible. But in the meantime, just before the break, we were discussing, things like fraud and the digital adoption for consumers. But there's so many things that we use every day that we don't understand what they are. So when it comes to the digital space, there are things that a lot of things are happening to avoid fraud or reduce it as much as possible. So when it comes to accessing information, there's something called biometrics. So is it possible, Christina, for you to expand on what that means?
Sure. So I'm sure everyone has had to use passwords, famous passwords. And as we've gone along, you may be entering passwords, and up comes this little pop up that says, too close to the last password that you used. So now you've gone back and it tells you, no, you need a symbol and you need a number. And before you know it, and then you need 12 characters in length. And so there was a lot of noise around passwords and what could be done. And then came biometrics. So biometrics, some of you may know, you may have gone, let's say, for a visa, and you are called to take biometrics. So biometrics can be your fingerprint, it can be face recognition, it can be the iris of your eye. So what you have found is, again, with a backing of AI technology, a lot of people are using biometrics, okay, to access online banking, payments, anything like that. So we started this conversation out speaking about digital wallets. And digital wallets, if you use it online, because as you can imagine, you can't tap your phone, on a computer. It uses biometrics. It uses your fingerprint or your iris of your eye. So when you hear that terminology, that is what biometrics is. And it was more of just people making a lot of screaming noises surrounding how passwords were changing and having to remember all of these passwords. So just imagine in a world where every device that you use, you can either look at it, think of face recognition to open your phone, or your fingerprint to access your computer, or any other device.
So, what do you think, in terms of this technology, how is that transitioning and helping us for digital adoption when it comes to e-commerce and online payment solutions?
Well, one of the questions that I get asked regularly is, where do I see digital payments in the next 5 to 10 years? And I will definitely say that biometrics is going to be the entryway, the gateway to access systems. We're going to come away from passwords without a doubt. So I think we need to wrap our minds around it. I think it's a safer way. It's a way of identifying you as you, okay? Sometimes it has happened before. I've had customers tell me, well, I wrote down my password and I understand. The thing is that someone can gain access to that password. So I think it's a safer way to go. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of, if you want to say first world countries, move to biometrics in identifying people for who they are.
All right. So earlier we had a question about crypto, and you gave us some insight. Thank you so much for that. But I want to delve into, maybe we can get some exclusive insight into anything that Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago is working on as they explore new technologies and innovations in this space.
So as they say, hot off the press, we have two things that I will share that it is brand new info. One, we are going in the next couple of months tap to phone, which would mean that instead of getting a traditional terminal You will now be able to do transactions on your phone. Your phone will become a device. And secondly, Scotia has partnered with a Spanish company called Pillarbox for the provision of, if you want to say, devices. It's actually 5 devices, all named after women. And the one in particular that we are launching is called Julia. So, what Julia is almost a tent shaped, if you can imagine it, double screened device, almost looking like a tablet. This allows, let's say, restaurants, bars, they can actually store their menus in the cloud. Those menus are live on the screen, and you can actually go through the menu. You can order, you can pay, and your food or service or wherever Julia sits, that will be brought to you. So, two very exciting things coming up for Scotia in the near future.
Nice. I've actually been on vacation with some friends in the US and I was so jealous when I saw them do it. I was like, I want to do that too. So it's good to know that that's something that we can look forward to. And in terms of convenience, because, a lot of us don't think about it, but the idea of, walking with a bag and your purse and so forth, by default, our phone has become part of our hand basically, right? So when it comes to convenience, how do you see this is going to be, and specifically for the tap to pay, because a lot of people's like, oh, I don't want to be part of this new technology. But in terms of convenience, how do you foresee this being able to assist consumers and businesses?
Oh, definitely. The emerging trends are only going to be beneficial in moving forward. I speak to a lot of, individuals, hairdressers and nail techs, lash techs, and they would say to me, well, I do bank transfers, but, I go online and then I realize my client forgot to pay me and I have to be following up. And so much effort is spent on that. So something like tap to phone is critical for industries of individuals that have their small businesses. So I think it's going to be totally embraced in that sense, and can certainly assess because you got paid one time. Just to extend a little bit on to Julia. Julia is definitely going to be new to Trinidad and Tobago. I have seen it abroad. But what I will encourage you to do is try Julia. Try it. There will be a pilot phase first, and Scotia will identify, of course, where the pilot is running. But we want you to try it. Try Julia. Let us know how Julia worked for you. She plays music while you're not attending to her. She can charge your phone for you. She's pretty interactive. Give her a try, and let us know what your interaction with her is.
Wow, that's really exciting. Thank you to Fareed Mohammed joining us from LinkedIn. Good morning to you as well. So we have quite a few people on the show right now, and we will be replaying it on TV6 as well. So if there's one takeaway for the audience today and for those watching later about the future of digital wallets and online payments, what would that be?
Um, as I mentioned earlier, I think my takeaway would be don't hesitate. Don't be scared of technology. Technology is here. It's growing, and it's only to make things more seamless, more effective. Don't shy away from technology, and we are here to guide you and to help you and to bring you into that comfort zone so that you feel secure. And it doesn't matter, there are people that learn, I always say this, there are people that learn visually. And if you need to come in to our branches and get a walkthrough, that's okay too. If you need to talk to somebody at our call center and they could walk you through, that's okay too. Whatever you need, but I would embrace it because with the birth of AI, we are going into this thing at 100 miles per hour.
And I know I'm repeating myself here, but I think this is extremely important because, the audience out here definitely have brought it up a few times. What would be your advice, especially with folks who, think it challenging to be in this digital space? Because you did mention the support from Scotiabank and being able to connect with folks from your company. But there's also sort of like an internalization of, okay, am I even ready for this? Are people even doing this? And guys, she did share insight at the beginning of the show and during the show. So if you missed it, once this live ends, you could check it out again. But when it comes to adoption of the market for Trinidad and Tobago, a lot of folks don't think that we are ready. And what say you to that?
I would say take the plunge. I would say see the potential, see where your business can go by adopting whichever service you believe that will fit your business. Because I don't believe this is a cookie cutting exercise. I don't believe that every single product is for every single customer. So I would say take the plunge, give it a try. See the potential, see where, and as I mentioned earlier, come and have a conversation with us. Tell us what are your short term and long term goals, and let us advise you on which services could take you where you want to go. And that's what I would end that one with.
Yes, guys, I was spilling the secrets to my life and you guys missed it. So I want to end on this note because I think this is a fantastic example of why we do this show. So Kalita has said from Facebook, entering the business world was um, quite scary for me. One of the biggest fears was learning to take risks, which I overcame. Another fear of mine was banking and technology. However, after listening to this episode, I have a newfound courage to embrace and enjoy the benefits of banking and technology. Thank you. So, Christina, thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. I think, and on that note, guys, I think we're going to say goodbye. Thank you so much to Christina for joining us today and sharing insight into digital wallets. And we covered more than just digital wallets. I think the e-commerce space is evolving, and it's important for us to learn about these things in Trinidad and Tobago. If you missed anything, don't forget this will be on replay as well as we go on TV6 every Monday at 8 p.m. Sign up to be notified about our next live show via the link in the comments. And as always, be sure to like and follow our pages across social media so you don't miss a single live show. Thanks again for joining us. Bye.